Welcome back. You're watching Iborn Sri Lanka on a beautiful Thursday morning. Thank you for joining me. I'm Prassanna, and once again with my guest this morning, Mr. Pathmanathan Prassanna, who is a fashion journalist and also into event management. Prasanna, we were talking about uh, how much are we willing to spend for a branded product in Sri Lanka? You were explaining that just before we went into the break. Thereafter, now as you mentioned earlier on, you were talking about the fashion week which was there, and many up and coming talent. At the end of the day, Prasanna, where does it all end? How much recognition have these people got? And at the end of the day, the effort, the time, and they use, how well is it exploited in Sri Lanka? And also, could you also talk about the models who are doing internationally pretty well? And unfortunately, none of us seem to know about them. You know, I'm sure that there are models. There's a guy who's modeling for an international, probably the man of the year or something like that. You know, so things like that. But it's very seldom we hear people like that. And having said that, promote these people in Sri Lanka. Is there anything being done about it, Prasanna?
Well, that is really a sad story because our models and our designers, they internationally they go and they present their work and they get so much of recognition over there. But when it comes to Sri Lanka, it's really lacking over here. Now, we have so much of international achievement which was not exposed in Sri Lanka. For an example, in 2007, Nadika Pereira, she's one of the top models over here. She went to Spain to compete in this international best female model world, and she was the winner with 4 mini titles. So in an international pageant, it's like I would say there was around 46 to 47 countries who compete in this pageant, and she was the winner. So how many people knew about this in Sri Lanka? No one knew because that exposure that has been not given to that particular person. And last year in 2009, Hemal Ranasinghe, he went to this same pageant in Spain, the international best male model world, and he was the winner out of 42 countries, where Portugal came second and Mexico came third.
Okay.
So what is the recognition that you get over here? No, he was not recognized. Fallon Ranasinghe, she won in 2008. She was the first runners-up in the pageant. So, so our people, our own models go internationally, they win pageants, but the recognition is not being given over here. And as I said, designers, most of the designers, they go internationally, they do shows, and Katie Brown, Kanchana, she was able to show her collections in Moscow Fashion Week. But I don't see any publicity has been given. On top of everything, last year, Miss Sri Lanka for Miss World, Gamya Vijayadasa, she a super personality. She went and competed in Miss World pageant, and she was ranked 22. And for the first time in the Miss World history, Sri Lanka was able to do a final dance. She was able to perform an item in the final event. So those are real big achievements. So I would say if we recognize these talents and if we just give them publicity, of course they can do well internationally as well. One good example, Jacqueline. She was a former Miss Sri Lanka. Now she's really doing well in India. Signed up for a new movie, 2 new movies as well. So there are so much of potential like that we have, but we should uplift them and we should bring them up.
Prasanna, talking about Jacqueline, now this was international honor that she brought into the country, you know, and her identity, the way she poses herself as a typical Sri Lankan, bringing that honor to Sri Lanka is something that, you know, probably the first time. Well, of course, after Mr. Rosie Sennaik won the title of and things like that. So. Now, even at the IFA, which was held at the BMICH, the first leg of it, well, I was not there for the first half of the show, but I don't know whether I missed. But the second half of the show, it was all Indian models, you know, and the designer that they had, you know, it was pieces of saris attached together. And it was a beautiful creation. I don't know, I don't recall what it's called, but. I'm sure Sri Lankans, with all due respect, are much more creative and things like that. Having said that, also, why was it something that was decided by the committee not to have many Sri Lankan models for the IFA? Am I right, or
Well, not
okay?
exactly. There were plenty of Sri Lankan models being taken as well to the IFA, that fashion extravaganza, and they have given equal chances to two Sri Lankan designers, that is Yolanda Alvihara
Yeah,
and
that's
Katie
right.
Brown,
Yeah.
and two Indian designers. So, but they were like, the domination by the Indian models because they have organized it. But still, the Sri Lankan models also been given chance
Good.
to show their creations and the talent.
Right. Talking once again on the designer, how possible is it now for Sri Lanka? From what I know, the Hamidiyas, the signature collection, is something that, okay, it has come to a particular stage and it has created a brand image. How difficult is this for a young up and coming designer to bring a label into that, at least as far as where Hamidiya has gone?
Yeah, it's. I would say it's not that easy because when you get into the industry, the recognition you get is not that big because if you take the abroad foreign magazines and the media, they give a special segment or they concentrate more onto fashion as well. But over here, it's not like that. So it's their own effort where they have to spend. Of course, you cannot advertise, or you cannot make other people to recognize your brand without spending money. So you have to put your collections into fashion shows, and then you have to make sure your label is about your label is it's gonna go in publications, maybe a TV interview, things like that. So it's not easy. It doesn't happen overnight. It takes some time to get your brand to the consumer. So it's not an easy task.
Prasanna, how challenging is it for people like you in the fashion world, especially for designers, with a culture of with the preserved culture of Sri Lanka, having drop down jeans and half of your undergarments are exposed, having guys wearing pink belts, earrings and things like that, pink sneakers, things like that. How how far do you think this is going to be from Sri Lanka in time to come?
Well, that maybe because we have been influenced by the Western culture.
Okay.
So the youngsters, no, that happens. You can't say a particular reason for it, but they want to be different, and they wanted to be to stand among the crowd. So that is the reason you see these kind of things. But fashion is not only restricted to that; it's more than that. Yeah, basically, that's an individual's choice.
Okay. So there is potential for more fashion from the
Yeah, because
European countries to come
even
down.
the designers, their collection that is inspired by something, a theme, maybe few designers, their collections are inspired by the Candian dancers, the way their attire, the jewels that they wear, based on that. Certain designers' theme that is inspired by some other reason. Maybe one designer was what do you call, inspired by Ambeke. There's a temple called Ambeke in Gampala, based on the what do you call, the sculpture they had over there. So all our creations are like that. So it varies from designer to designer what they inspire. So even this can be an inspiration for a designer. See this young trend, and they might come up with their own designs based on that theme.
Okay, Prasanna, my next question is now when you see international, like the fashion TV, the Michael Adam, all these fashion shows that take place on TV. Since of late, from what I have seen, the models are absolutely unique. They look all the same. You wouldn't know who is who, and what they wear, the fabrics, the suitability of the body structure, the color, the makeup, all that is something that is incredible. But back here now, I've seen for many model shows, when it takes place, when it takes the rap, there are some well creations, if I say, which you can't probably even think of getting coming out of the hotel wearing those particular designs. Is that a way of expressing the creativity? What actually are you trying to show by doing a creation like that?
Okay, now it's like this. Now, if you take not only locally, even
Mhm.
internationally,
Mhm.
certain designs, it go for sale.
Okay.
People buy those
Okay.
kind of designer wear. But if you, as you said, even certain collection, when you see, you think, oh my God, how you can wear this and go out
Okay.
of
Yeah.
this place, or how can you walk on the street?
Mhm.
Yeah, but the thing is, it doesn't affect the designer's creation.
Okay.
Fashion is open for innovation and creativity. So most of the designers, they might have collections which you can, very decent wear, and just for social events, that gatherings that you can wear. But it doesn't restrict them going above that creation. So it's open. So it doesn't mean that people buy that. No, that is for their own satisfaction, or they wanted to show, because although we can't wear it, but we say, wow, it's
Yeah.
amazing,
Okay.
right? So because of that reason. And also, if you take abroad, those kind of creation people buy, not maybe to wear,
Wear,
but
okay.
maybe for
For the creation
for a
itself.
creation itself,
Okay, okay.
for a
For the
collection,
material, for the creativity.
material, for the fabric,
Okay.
and maybe for a show, maybe for a drama, for a dance contest.
okay.
Even if you take pageants.
Okay.
Now, see, that is a good example. If you take the pageants, say Miss Sri Lanka or Mr. Sri Lanka, most of these pageants, it has a segment called national costume or your own creation. So where you show, where you can't wear that and you can't walk on the road, but still is it like give you a glamour, or gives a total different you know. So because of that reason, these designs can be used for those purposes.
Okay, Prasanna, thank you very much. We're going to head in for another commercial break, but once we come back, we're going to talk about the fashion magazines which are available in Sri Lanka. What exactly do we, as a person who wants to purchase, what exactly do we need? What should be there in a fashion magazine? Let's talk about that after this very short break.